Thank you, Jeff, and thank you everybody for hopping on. Short notice, of course, but appreciate your time and just the time for me to share a few thoughts. Tough day. Never easy decisions like this, and certainly with my role here, it's important to evaluate and to make tough decisions, and that's what this is, and primarily because of who Monte, who Coach Lee is as a person, first of all, and as a leader of Clemson baseball, and how he's always led Clemson baseball in a first-class manner, and have been an incredibly important part of our department, just as a head coach, as one of our 14 head coaches, and to have the role of leading Clemson baseball, which is a program of the highest expectation, and Monte's embraced that throughout his time here and coming here. And so for this transition has just not been easy. But Monte, the discussions that we had today and as we work through the evaluation has handled and responded in a first-class manner, as we would all expect and know Monte to be, which makes it tough. And for him and his staff and his players and how they've carried themselves and represented Clemson and Clemson baseball is to be commended, and is of the utmost respect that I have in making decisions like this difficult. But I couldn't be more excited for the path ahead, for the trajectory for Clemson baseball. We have high expectations, a strong tradition, and get really excited to chart a new course, turn a page, have a chapter that's a different era. And I think that our ability to invest and respond and win big is the expectations that I have for all of our sports, but in particular Clemson baseball with the strong tradition and background and attributes that it has. And so that's the intention. I've certainly had an afternoon long of meetings, starting with Monte and staff and the team, and I've had that type of feedback and perspectives to them and dialogue. And today's all about Monte and his players and staff. And tomorrow we'll dive into a search officially and get going to chart the course ahead for Clemson baseball. Couldn't be more excited for what that looks like, for the opportunities out there, and to have a great experience for the Clemson student athletes here, and for our fans, for your perspective and support over the years, over the decades, but certainly here as we transition and for path ahead. Couldn't be more appreciative of the strong fan base and tradition that Clemson baseball has, and our supporters for that. So just a couple opening thoughts. Certainly look forward to a lot of the questions and dialogue on it. And so I'll stop there and open it up for any questions.
Hey, Graham, it's Davis from TCI. I'm curious, can you explain what Monte's buyout looks like? And also, will you be able to spend whatever you need to get the best coach that you feel like you need to bring in?
Yeah, thanks, Davis. So, Monte's contract, which should be available, he has 2 years remaining on his contract with that will certainly pay out and abide by that contract. Of course, it equates to about $500,000 that we have planned for, and will certainly support in a first-class manner his transition. Listen, from a market and where we intend to go with the search, as I said, I consider Clemson baseball a top 15 job, period, with the tradition, the resources, the facility, the fan base, the talent within this state of South Carolina and region. And I think that that's where Clemson baseball should be, and what that means from a competition for postseason, regional, super regionals, Omaha. We've been to 12 College World Series and intend to increase that number. So therefore, Davis, yes, the ability to go out and attract that caliber of coach is where we intend to start. Certainly have done our due diligence on the market and what that looks like from an investment standpoint for coach and staff and program, and intend to, as I said, win big, and are prepared to invest big as it relates to attracting a coach to be able to restore and meet those expectations that we have for Clemson baseball.
Graham, this is Matt. I know Monte said last week that he expected to be back and was hoping to be back. Just what were the conversations like with him and the players once you, I guess, delivered that news?
Yeah, Monte's been consistent throughout his 7 years here of owning it, and he's a no excuse kind of coach, kind of person. And as we talked over the weekend and last couple of days with Monte and Kyle Young, who's our sports supervisor, dove into all those details, big picture, small picture. And to your question, Matt, Monte certainly viewed himself as the best man for the job ahead, and in an incredibly appropriate and confident manner that he is. And that was the expectations that I had of him and know him to be. And so, yeah, while he has that confidence, and we certainly talked on details of the program from where the status is and a look back and a look ahead, was very, very open-minded about what that looks like for Monte from a continuation standpoint, but ultimately came back to the current condition and the performance. This is a performance decision, not a person decision, as it relates to who Monte is as a coach and staff. I just feel like our relevance and our current performance hasn't been where it should be and has been for Clemson baseball. And so a different voice and a different direction ultimately is that decision that I made, and certainly worked through President Clemens and our leadership with conviction and support for that decision for us to go and chart a new course.
Hey, Graham, this is Will. I was curious if I know Bradley has stayed on right now to help out. Will he have an opportunity to interview for the job? I know that was the case last time when Coach Leggett was like that.
Yeah, thanks, Will. Have asked Bradley Leacroy and Brad Owens, two Clemson alums, and Bradley's a former player here, to help with this transition. Will, don't anticipate to initially consider Bradley for the position, but do perceive him to be an incredibly important part of a transition process here. And he carried himself in that regard last time 7 years ago, and have had time to meet with him and Brad this afternoon and charge them and ask them to help do that transitionally. So that's where Bradley's at, and relationally with him and the players and the recruits, an incredibly key role. We very much recognize that transfer portal and just changes like this cause attrition, cause questions, and that's to be expected, and we have those expectations. But my message to the team this afternoon was two things. One, again, we intend to win and win big, and they chose Clemson to be a Clemson student. They chose Clemson to be coached by Monte Lee, but they chose Clemson. And they chose Clemson to go to Omaha and want to restore that. And that's my charge, to go out and attract a coach to do that. And then also just my appreciation, respect, and expectations for them of how they carry themselves as Clemson students and as Clemson ball players. And we're here for them as an administration. I want to be very collaborative with the student athletes just to get feedback from a process standpoint as we get into a search standpoint. And so I want to be very, very open and transparent with them, just to have them be as connected as they can to Clemson while we go search for a new leadership.
Hey, Graham, this is John with the Post and Courier. I just wanted to ask, in terms of the actual candidates you'll consider, does it have to be an established current college head coach? Could it be an assistant with good credentials, or even someone outside of the college ranks?
Yeah. Hey, John. Thanks for joining in, taking the time. Not resigned to any type profile. So I think the answer to any of those that you suggest: current head coach, high major head coach, mid-major head coach, so to speak, top assistant, professional background, very open, not exclusive to any type profile. But again, intend to invest and go seek the best, and that's easy to say. But again, we've done our due diligence on the market and have a sense of where that could be and where that could take us. And so intend to start with high profile, accomplished coaches, identify great fit for Clemson mutually, and work from there. So that level of investment and focus is where we're going to start, and whatever profile that shows itself to be, we're open to any type background or current condition.
Hello, this is Amanda Poole with WatchFox. I just wanted to know, you talk a lot about expectations. What will be your expectation for the coach in his or her first year? Yeah. Hey, Amanda. Good to see you. In his first year, gosh, I don't have any specifics in year one, other than to be a strong leader and lead with integrity on and off the field, academics, all the other aspects of being a head coach at Clemson, whatever the sport may be, and be competitive. Again, want to win.
But that's a body of work. And as we look to evaluate Monte here, I looked at it very much from a body of work standpoint, ultimately leading to the decision today. So to answer your question, Amanda, very much have expectations to grow and mature the program, certainly transition it, what that looks like from the culture of the program, from talent, from roster development. There's going to be time here, and there's going to be investment and support. It's important for us from a scholarship and an aid standpoint. It's an incredibly important aspect for college baseball and for a lot of our equivalency sports, that we have great tools in the toolbox for our head coaches to go out and recruit and attract and build a program. So expectations on myself are to continue to support and invest with a new head coach and give them the resources to compete at a high level, and again be competitive, be relevant and competitive nationally. And yes, that means regionals, supers, and Omaha. Those are the broader body of work expectations.
Graham, this is Matt again. How do you try to balance? I'm sure there are coaches out there right now in the NCAA tournament that you would like to talk to. How do you try to balance going through a search with some of those guys having their own kind of situations they're dealing with right now?
Yeah, you're right, Matt. And that's where baseball is a little unique than maybe some other sports, that there's probably some aspect of hurry up and wait, if that's a phrase that applies, just because you're right. There's certainly going to be coaches that we'd want to talk to, that we want to respect their current roles and their current teams, and go about the process in a first-class manner. And so again, today's all about Monte, our current staff and student athletes. Tomorrow we'll be proverbially rolling up the sleeves in the due diligence on the search, but we'll need to balance that with the time of year and with regionals this weekend, et cetera. So yeah, you're right. It's one of those that we'll start to dive into it and see who's available, who's willing to talk, or who maybe has some interest in how we go about balancing that. And that's where baseball is just a little unique than others. So it's a condition that we'll manage. We have a plan, have a timeline as such, and we'll work the process.
Hey, Graham, it's Davis again. I'm curious, do you feel like the talent level in the program is where it needs to be to compete in the upper half of the ACC at this point? And in terms of recruiting, is that a strong recruiter, is that's going to be something that you may weigh more heavily than usual for this job?
Yeah, the talent evaluation, Davis. Again, we have great ball players here, always have at Clemson, and I think that the talent level and certainly our level of performance hasn't risen to the level that we expect, that I've articulated. And so when we finish 11th and 12th in the ACC, that's clearly big drivers towards this change. Talked about that with Monte very candidly and directly. So to answer your question, do we need more talent? Absolutely. Does it lead itself to someone that's really well-versed and has chops from recruiting and relationship and travel ball and high school and those type of things? Those are really compelling attributes for coaches. Absolutely. I do think too, again, I'm putting some of the onus back on me and our administration, that we continue to give our baseball program, in this case, great tools to recruit. And so again, I know there's been a lot of discussion on aid and scholarship support, and how are we appropriately supporting the 11.7 scholarships that we have. And so we've taken steps administratively to build that support with summer school fundraise dollars, and how to add that to a student's full tenure as a student here at Clemson, and how that would allow us to stretch the scholarship dollars. We call it the CAP award program, the Clemson Academic Performance Award, which is inherently the Alston dollars that we're able to provide. We've been incredibly aggressive in how we've set that program and policy here for Clemson, for all of our sports, all of our student athletes, and specifically and intentionally baseball and softball for Coach Rittman and our baseball coach to use those dollars to be very flexible on just adding dollars from an aid standpoint to student athletes. So Dave, academic common market is another lever that I know we've talked on off and on that I won't dive into. But to answer your question, Davis, that it's important on us administratively, and we've taken steps, and we will continue to take those, to have great opportunities for our coaches and our baseball coach to recruit and raise that talent level that to the point that we expect to compete nationally.
Hey, Graham, it's Will again.
Final question.
Graham, it's Will again. What's the timeline like for getting the new coach in? Do you want to try to get this done as quick as possible?
Yeah, move expeditiously, Will, absolutely. And we, as we work through the evaluation and discussions with Monte, again, moved expeditiously through those and want to continue in the search. But again, want to be incredibly respectful for the time of year with baseball and postseason and regionals and maybe where we would want to target some coaches. So no set timeline. We have a couple of scenarios just based on availability and candidates to discuss. But want to move quick, are incredibly bullish on our job and the profile of our job as a top 15 job, and the interest that it would have. And again, our desire to win and win big and the requisite investment and resources that would entail. We're ready to present a great package to get into those conversations with the timeline to be TBD.
All right. Thank you guys.